Have you ever poured nearly 2 decades into a company, only to be tossed aside with a spreadsheet justification and a fake smile? I did. 18 years. That's how long I spent building the digital backbone of Solvix Systems. From a scrappy little tech firm in a dusty office park to a mid-tier powerhouse with clients across finance, healthcare, even defense. I was there when servers caught fire, when deals fell apart, when we were 3 hours from total collapse unless someone rewrote 10,000 lines of code. That someone was me, more than once. And then one Monday morning I was summoned to the conference room. Across the table sat Nathan Briggs, the company's brand new CFO, mid-30s, MBA smirk, one of those data-driven disruptor types who believes age equals inefficiency. He folded his hands and said, "David, you've been an incredible asset, but you're too expensive." I didn't argue. I didn't even blink. Just nodded, stood, and cleared my desk. They thought I'd be angry, maybe bitter, maybe even broken. But 6 weeks later, Nathan called me 9 times in one day. Why? What happened between that smug firing and his panicked voicemails? Let's just say, when you rip out a system's heart, don't be surprised if it flatlines. You ever notice how some people smile when they think they've won? Nathan did. It wasn't the firing that stung. It wasn't even the words. It was the look on his face when he said it. That smug, corner office smirk that said, "I've figured it out. You're the problem, and I'm the solution. We can get 3 juniors for your salary," he said. Like he was solving a math problem and not gutting a man's career. The HR manager, Julie, sat to the side, eyes flickering to her shoes. She didn't say a word. Nobody did. I just nodded, stood up and said, "Good luck." Then I packed up my desk, 18 years in a single cardboard box, and walked out. No drama, no raised voice, not even a sarcastic email. But I'll tell you something most people missed that day. I left with a smile, not a big one, just a tight curve at the edge of my mouth. Because deep down I knew something they didn't. You can replace a salary. You can't replace legacy. Not like mine. At home I didn't cry. I didn't vent online. I gardened. I walked. I watched them try to keep the machine running. They thought I was just too expensive. But then, 2 weeks later, I got a call from Amira, an old dev I'd mentored. She said 6 words that made me pause mid-coffee sip. "David, something's breaking in the code." And that's when I knew the cracks had started. What happens when the person who built the foundation walks away, and no one knows where the blueprints are? You start hearing the cracks. Amira's call came early, too early for casual. She sounded nervous, like she didn't want to be overheard. "David, they're panicking. The data pipeline's acting up. They can't figure out why." That pipeline? I built it 10 years ago, back when we were migrating from local servers to hybrid cloud. It wasn't just code. It was stitched together intuition, legacy patches, and shortcuts that only made sense if you lived inside it. I told them to document it. I told them years ago, but guess what? Nobody ever does. Because when it works, it's invisible. Now it was visible. Very visible. The new juniors? Smart kids. Sharp on theory. But no idea how to untangle real-world spaghetti code layered over a decade of urgency and duct tape. I heard they spent 2 days just trying to figure out where one report was pulling data from. Amira whispered, "Nathan's freaking out. 2 clients threatened to walk." He blamed the interns. But we both know it's not their fault. And I did know, because this wasn't a bug. It was a slow bleed. Systems were failing piece by piece, and they had no idea where the next break would be. They could replace my salary. They just couldn't replace my mind. And then, on Monday morning, my phone lit up. Nathan Briggs, calling. I let it ring. No voicemail. Then the second call came. What does desperation sound like? Sometimes, it starts with forced cheerfulness. The first voicemail? Way too casual. "Hey David, hope you're well. Just had a quick question about the data syncing process. No rush. Give me a ring when you can." Click. I smiled. That tone? That was someone trying to pretend everything was fine. like the house wasn't on fire behind him. Second voicemail 2 hours later. The cracks were showing. Just wanted to follow up. The report metrics are way off. If you happen to remember how the validator scripts were linked, we'd really appreciate it. Still polite. Still pretending this was a small hiccup. But I knew better. Third voicemail. The voice was tighter. Okay, so we've got multiple clients reporting missing data. The interns are trying to track it down, but nothing's lining up with the old schema. We could use some help. Now we were getting real. By the fifth voicemail, he didn't even try to fake calm. Just breathing. A pause. Then a long exhale before he hung up. By that point, I'd received 9 missed calls in less than 36 hours. Nathan, Mr. Cost-Cutter Visionary, was unraveling. Meanwhile, I was sitting on my porch, drinking coffee, watching birds. Was I angry? No, I was entertained. Because the system didn't just need fixing, it needed its architect. And he knew it. But when he finally made a 10th call and left an actual offer, that's when I knew the tables had completely turned. What would you do if the same guy who fired you suddenly begged you to come back? Me? I listened to voicemail number 10 with a straight face and a slow sip of coffee. David, listen. I know things ended abruptly, but we could really use your insight. I'm prepared to offer a consulting contract. We'll pay whatever's fair. Just, please call me back. Whatever's fair. That line made me laugh out loud. The same man who said, 3 juniors are more efficient than 1 dinosaur, was now stammering into my inbox like a man clinging to a sinking ship. I called him back. 12 seconds of silence before he spoke. Then came the offer, short-term contract. High urgency. Just get the system stable. I said, sure, but I've got terms. 3 of them. 1, I work remote. 0 meetings. I bill double what I was paid before. 2, no NDA. I keep the right to tell this story however I want. 3, I want a written apology. Not some HR-formatted nonsense. From him directly. He hesitated. I didn't. I said, you're not just hiring help, Nathan. You're buying back the peace of mind you threw away. He accepted all 3 terms within the hour. I logged in that night, fixed the root issue in 4 days, cleaned up the chaos in another 3. By day 10, the system was healthier than it had been in 2 years. I stayed for lunch, consulted, mentored a few of the juniors, wrote documentation finally. Then, on my last day, Nathan pulled me aside. David, what would it take for you to come back full-time? What do you say to the man who fired you, now asking to rehire you? I looked Nathan in the eye. He looked tired, smaller than before, like the confidence had been wrung out of him by a month of stress and sleepless nights. Full-time, I repeated. He nodded. We'll match your consulting rate, whatever title you want. Just say the word. It was tempting. The money, the power, the poetic symmetry of walking back in, this time on my terms. But here's the thing. Once you've been discarded, you don't forget the feel of that drop. You don't forget the smirk. I smiled, not bitter, not smug, just calm. Thanks, Nathan. But I think I've outgrown the building. His eyes flickered. So what now? I handed him a card. My new firm. I'd already launched a boutique consultancy. 2 clients signed in the last month. One of them was a former competitor of Solvix. I'm happy to partner, I said. But I don't work for people anymore. Especially not ones who think loyalty is a liability. He said nothing. And just like that, the meeting ended. I walked out not just with leverage, but with legacy. They thought I was expensive. Turns out, I was underpriced the whole time. So if you've ever been told you're replaceable, remember this. You're only too expensive to people who can't afford your value. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't loud. It's paid.